guys, welcome back to Food of the Pharaohs. My name is Sarah and today we're making something really special and it's called foule. Now foule is actually Egypt's national dish and it's actually a fava bean. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to actually prep all our ingredients first and then we'll show you how to make it. Now I have some onions here that I'm going to cut up, so I'm going to just dice these up. And you want to dice them up pretty small, kind of not really too small, but like a rough chop. All right, now we're gonna just go like this. And I have about like a small onion here that you want to dice up, a whole onion, very small. Perfect. Okay, so once you get it cut up, you want to just put it to the side. So just put all that to the side. All right, now we're going to cut up our tomatoes. So we have 2 tomatoes. Oh, wow, that onion is literally going to make my eyes tear. Whew, that was a strong onion. Okay, so we got 2 tomatoes, and we're going to just dice these up as well. Now, for the onions and the tomatoes, I like to keep a little extra on the side because we are going to cook these, but I'm going to keep a little bit of the onions to the side and a little bit of the tomatoes to the side because I like to use them as a garnish for my foule. All right, so we cut up our onions and our tomatoes, and we have some cilantro here. Now, people make foule very different. I've seen people do it with parsley and I've seen people do it with cilantro. I personally, sometimes I'll switch depending on what my mood is, but sometimes I'll use parsley and sometimes I'll use cilantro. But for some reason, I just feel like the cilantro gives it like a good, I don't know, it gives it a good bite. So I'm gonna just kind of rough chop that as well, and that's done. And then what we're gonna do is we have our garlic in our mortar and pestle, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna just kind of mash this up, and that's perfect. All right, and then that's it. Now we are going to prepare our foule and cook it. So I'm going to show you guys how to prepare this. Now I have some extra virgin olive oil here that I'm going to pour into the pan. Just a little drizzle, just enough to coat the bottom. And what we're going to do is we're going to fry up our onions and our garlic. So the first thing, every time when I cook anything, no matter what sauce it is, I have to cook my onions first and let it brown up a little bit and then add my garlic. So what we're going to do is we're going to add our onion. And remember, I said that I have to leave a little bit of those onions to the side because I like to use them as garnish. So we're going to put that in there. And we're gonna cook that up until they get a little bit translucent and a little brown. Now, while that's cooking, I'm actually just gonna go over a few things with you. So I have a can of foule here. You're not Egyptian if you don't have a can of foule in your house. That's all I have to say about that one. But this is really the quickest way to make foule. If you wanted to do it a little bit traditional, you could use your bagged dry fava beans, but you have to soak them overnight. And that takes a while, but it's worth it because it does taste really good. Now, fava bean kind of reminds me of refried beans, like the Mexican beans. That's basically kind of what they taste like, but just an Egyptian version. We add the spices and all that stuff, which tastes really good. But, you know, if you can't find a fava bean, feel free to use refried beans. I'm sure it'll probably taste fine if you just add these simple ingredients to it. And another thing too is the American fava bean is a lot different than your Egyptian fava bean. So if you go to your food market and you see a can of fava beans, they're completely different. If you are looking for a fava bean, make sure you do go to an ethnic deli or just somewhere where they have like canned fava beans. And then another thing with the fava beans is I actually boiled it and I added a little cumin to it and a little salt, and I boiled it for about like maybe like a minute or two because they're already cooked. So what I did is I boiled it for 2 minutes, then I drained it and I saved some of the liquid because I'm going to use this for my sauce. Now I'm going to add my garlic. So let's add, oh, this thing's so heavy. Okay, so we're going to add our garlic in here. Now, my dad used to tell me that when he was younger, my grandma used to make him fool every morning, and he used to wake up because she used to cook it in a crock pot, and he used to wake up in the morning and the whole house smelled like fool. He said it always made him so excited. This looks perfect. So once you get all of your onions and your garlic kind of like sweating into your pan here, what we're going to do is we're going to add some cilantro in here. So right into the onions and the garlic. Now at this point, if you don't like cilantro, you can always just substitute that with the parsley and just add that in here. Right, let's mix this up. And now we're going to let's add our seasonings. So I have Himalayan pink salt. I like to use it because it has a lot more nutrients than your table salt. Now I have onion powder, garlic powder, red pepper flakes, cumin, and coriander, and a little bit of pepper. I'm actually gonna add in a little bit of the cumin first. And the reason why I'm doing this is because it releases all of those oils into your sauce. So anytime I make a sauce, even if it's a spaghetti sauce, I always add my seasonings right into the oil because it makes a really big difference. So I added a little coriander in there, and then I'm gonna add a little bit of onion powder and a little bit of garlic powder, and then a little bit of red pepper flakes. I do like my foule a little bit spicy. If you don't like spice, you can certainly just skip that. Now I'm gonna add a little bit more olive oil in here because it got kind of dry. All right, perfect. And we're gonna mix that all up. I love foule because it's just so easy to make, especially if you're doing it out of a can. And it's great for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. In Egypt, they sell the foule on the street side. So you can literally buy a sandwich of foule, or they serve it in a bowl for you, or they just add like eggs to it, sometimes a hard-boiled egg, sometimes one of those runny eggs. They eat it all the time. All right, that looks so good. All right, and it smells amazing. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a little tomato paste. And I'm gonna add about a spoonful of this in here. Not a whole can, just a few spoonfuls. Nothing crazy. And I like to always add my tomato paste to the onions and the garlic because it really flavors the tomato paste. And you can see that all of the oils from the tomato paste is kind of running out of the paste itself. Oh, that's perfect. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my tomato. So I'm going to add a little bit of tomato in there. Now it starts to sizzle a little. And remember, I'm keeping a little bit of that tomato also to the side because I want that for a garnish as well. All right, let's add a little bit of salt to this. My pink Himalayan salt. I love this salt so much. And then I'm also going to add accent salt. Now, accent salt is a little pricey, but it makes everything taste so much better. It just kind of infuses everything in your dish. So I'm going to add that. So yeah, it infuses all of the ingredients. So you'll taste more of the onion and you'll taste more of the garlic and the tomato and all that goodness. So we're going to mix that up. And now we are going to add our fava beans. Again, I boiled them and for about 2 minutes. And then I drained it and I kept some of the liquid, which has a little bit of cumin and salt in there, which I'm going to pour in here right now. So just a little bit at a time. You're not going to use that whole thing because you don't want it to be soup. So now this is really to your liking. A lot of people, what they'll do is they'll actually boil the fava beans, and before they add it into the sauce, they'll actually peel it. And then, because it has a little bit of skin on it, and they'll peel it and they'll mash it up. So it's almost kind of like a hummus. But I mean, when I was younger, my parents used to just make it like this and put it in a sandwich for me, and that was like my lunch and my breakfast. You know, some kids go to school with peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I went to school with foule. All right. So that's good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add some lime to this. Perfect. Now this is optional. Tahini. I always put tahini in here. It just gives it that extra flavor. So I'm going to put a little bit of that in there. And it also makes the sauce kind of like a light reddishy color, almost pinkish. It just looks so much better this way. I love it. And this looks so good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of pepper to this. A little bit more cumin. There's more cumin in the fava beans than there is of coriander. A little bit more salt. And let's just put everything else in there. All right, and then we're gonna mix that up. Wow, that looks really, really good. All right, and I'm just going to put it in my bowl. This is done. That's how easy it is. All you have to do is just boil your fava beans, cook it up in some sauce, and you serve it just like this or in a sandwich if you want to. And another thing too is, actually, I have to do it the traditional way. My husband hates this, but I need to do it this way. So olive oil goes on top. All right, a drizzle of olive oil. Always, when you go to Egypt, this is how they serve it. Normally, my parents use vegetable oil and extra virgin olive oil and they'll mix it together. But I'm trying to be healthier, so I have safflower oil, and this oil is a lot healthier than your vegetable oil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour a little bit of that, just a drizzle. I know it's a lot of oil, but it's just the experience that you're going to get. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add the onions, raw onions on top, yes. A little bit of the tomatoes on top. And then we add the parsley or the cilantro right in the middle. And look at that, beautiful. And basically what you do is you can take a whole wheat pita, white pita, whatever you like, and you just kind of scoop it out. I'm really excited about this. Okay, and then wow, this is so good, and I'm so happy that you guys got to see how to make foole. Thank you for watching Food of the Pharaohs. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, take care.